She said 4 words like a slap. "Don't touch me, Ethan." And in that instant, my marriage didn't feel strained. It felt sealed off, like a room I no longer had a key to. I'm Ethan Brooks, 42, architect, Philadelphia. I design spaces for a living, how people move, where light falls, where walls belong. That night, in our kitchen, I reached for my wife the way I always did. Nothing dramatic, just a hand at her lower back as she passed me. A quiet touch that said we're okay even when we weren't. She stopped like I'd burned her. Her shoulders tightened. Her face didn't turn all the way toward me, like even my eyes were something she didn't want on her. "Don't touch me, Ethan." 4 words. Not yelled. Not shaky. Flat. Contempt dressed as control. For a second, my body wanted to react the old way. Confused laugh, apology, questions. The marriage-saving reflex. But something in her tone shut that down. It wasn't irritating. It wasn't stressful. It was a boundary. Permanent ink. I looked at my hand like it belonged to someone else. Then I looked at her. She was already moving again, like the moment was done. Like I'd been corrected and should adjust. "Okay," I said. That was it. No fight. No pleading. No, "What's wrong with you?" I didn't give her the satisfaction of watching me scramble. I walked past the living room where our future sat in neat little stacks. Catalogs, samples, brochures. Stone. Tile. Fixtures. The dream build we talked about like it was a vow. I'd been working overtime for it, telling myself it was for us, because men like me are built to carry weight without complaining. I opened the guest bedroom door. We'd lived in this house 3 years, and I'd never slept in there. The bed was made like a showroom. The air smelled like linen spray and distance. I sat on the edge, took off my watch, set it on the nightstand with care. Habit. Discipline. The kind you learn when you're the one who keeps things steady. Down the hall, Lauren moved around like nothing happened. Cabinets. Water running. A soft clink of glass. I lay back and stared at the ceiling fan. It didn't wobble. Everything in this house stayed aligned. I made sure of it. My mind replayed her voice over and over. Not the words, the feeling behind them. Repulsion doesn't show up out of nowhere. Not in a marriage. Not from a woman who used to pull me close in the doorway just to steal 10 seconds. So I didn't chase her. I didn't demand reassurance. I didn't ask for an explanation she'd reshape anyway. I just stayed still in that clean and used room, listening to the house settle, realizing one simple thing. If she flinched from me like that, then somewhere, quietly, confidently, she'd already decided I wasn't her man anymore. 6 years with Lauren. 3 years in this starter home. 2 cars in the driveway, matching keychains on the kitchen hook, and a future we talked about like it was already poured in concrete. The dream build. That phrase lived in our mouths like a prayer. A custom house outside the city. Clean lines, warm wood, big windows. A place that would prove we weren't just surviving adulthood, we were winning it. I did most of the lifting. Overtime. Bonuses. Side projects I didn't need except for the number in my head, down payment, buffer, contingency. I told myself it was what husbands did. Take the pressure off, be the steady one, make it real. Lauren played her role well. She'd sit at the table with her coffee, scrolling through inspiration photos, pointing out finishes like she was curating our destiny. "We're going to love hosting," she'd say. "We're going to finally have space. We're going to feel settled." Settled. That word mattered to her. Looking back, the shift didn't start with a big lie. It started with small edits. The kind you miss when you trust the original plan. Late nights first. Not every night, just enough to normalize it. Tyler had a question about the foundation timeline. Tyler's meeting got pushed, so I stayed to go over options. Tyler Donovan. Contractor. Confident handshake, 2 white teeth, the kind of guy who says your name too much like it's intimacy. At first I liked him. He spoke in certainties. He complimented my sketches. Told me I thought like a builder. Lauren seemed energized around him, brighter, louder. I told myself it was good. She was excited about our future. Then the phone started flipping face down. Not dramatic, just casual. A habit. We'd be on the couch, some show half playing, and her screen would light up. She'd glance, tap it dark, and keep talking like nothing happened. I noticed my own silence before I noticed her behavior. I didn't ask who it was. I didn't push. I kept myself above it because I'm not the jealous guy. I'm the rational guy, the stable guy. There were smells too. Little things that didn't belong to our life. A sharp cologne on her jacket one evening. Clean, expensive, not mine. I asked light like it didn't matter. New perfume. She didn't miss a beat. Probably from work. People wear stuff. You know that. I nodded because it was plausible. Because plausible is what liars build their worlds out of. But the biggest thing, the thing that stares at me now like a cracked beam, was how she talked about him. Not the contractor. Not Tyler. Not even our guy. It was familiar. Confidence. Possessive in a way you don't use for someone you just hired. Tyler thinks we should move the kitchen wall. Tyler says quartz is a waste if we're already spending. Tyler can get us a better rate if we act fast. Tyler says, like he was a voice inside our marriage. Like he was a third person at our table, leaning in, telling her what we wanted. And I let it happen because I was tired. Because I was busy. Because I thought my job was to provide the structure and let her pick the paint. That's the lie men tell themselves. If we keep building, everything will hold. But that night, after Don't Touch Me, those little signs stopped being little. They lined up. Late nights weren't schedule changes. They were opportunities. The phone face down wasn't a habit. It was a strategy. The cologne wasn't random. It was close. And Tyler Donovan wasn't just a contractor. He was already part of our future in a way I never agreed to. I lay in that guest bed and understood something cold and simple. I'd been funding a dream, but I hadn't been watching who else was living in it. Lauren was already in the kitchen when I came out. Hair up, sweatpants, the domestic costume that used to feel like home. Morning, she said, like we hadn't drawn blood the night before. I watched her pour coffee, measured and calm, and waited for the awkwardness that should have been there. It didn't arrive. Not even a hint. That told me more than an apology ever could. She slid a plate toward me, toast, eggs, the kind of normal that's meant to reset the clock. Then she started talking about the house. I was thinking we should upgrade the windows in the great room, she said casually, like it was a grocery decision. Tyler says we'll regret it if we don't. There it was. Tyler, first thing in the morning, like he lived here too. I took a bite, chewed slowly, gave her nothing. She kept going, warming up. And the kitchen, Tyler says if we're doing an open concept, we should widen that entryway. It's not even that much extra. Not that much extra. That phrase always comes from someone who isn't carrying the total. I nodded once. Neutral. Sure, I said. If it makes sense. Her shoulders loosened. I saw it, relief spilling out of her in a way she didn't realize she was showing. She wanted me to agree. Predictable. A man who signs and pays and asks nothing. Because if I stayed with that guy, she didn't have to manage the risk. She could keep the story clean. So you're okay with the upgrades? She asked, eyes on me but not fully, like she was watching for the wrong reaction. Yeah, I said. We can look at the numbers. A small smile, quick exhale, like I'd passed a test. That's when I understood the real dynamic. She wasn't excited about marble or resale value. She was relieved I was still playing my part. Steady husband, quiet provider, reliable ATM with a heartbeat. And the second I confronted her, she'd shift. Tears, anger, denial, whatever tool fit the moment. She'd reshape the night before into Ethan was being cold. Or Ethan's been distant. Or I'm under so much stress. She'd make me the reason. I'd seen it happen in other people's lives. Guys at work, friends of friends, men who walked into arguments like they were walking into court without a lawyer. They thought the truth was enough. It isn't. Truth is just a thing, you know. Proof is what wins. So I stayed calm. I kept my voice even. I asked a couple shallow questions about timelines and permits, like I was just the architect husband doing due diligence. Lauren's posture stayed soft, her tone light. She joked once, touched my shoulder briefly as she passed behind me. The touch meant nothing. Not affection. Not intimacy. It was reassurance, her way of checking the leash. I let her. Then I watched her walk out of the kitchen with her phone in her hand. Screen tilted away from me like it was a secret she had every right to keep. And I made the decision right there with my coffee cooling on the counter. I wasn't going to accuse her yet. I wasn't going to blow up and hand her a script. I was going to observe, confirm, plan. Because if she turned my marriage into a project, then fine. I billed for a living, and I'd started drafting something new. For the next 2 weeks, I became careful. Not paranoid, not frantic, just deliberate. I left for work on time like always, button down, travel mug, keys in the same spot. I kissed Lauren on the cheek when she offered it, because she liked the performance of normal. Then I adjusted the rest. Some mornings I drove to the office, looped the block, and parked a few streets over. Other days I forgot a folder and came back 10 minutes after I'd left. I kept it clean. No drama, no confrontation, no accusations that could bounce back at me. The house sounded different when you weren't part of the conversation. Lauren's voice on the phone wasn't the same one she used with me. It had a softness to it, confident edge, like she was speaking to someone who already understood her. Once, from the hallway, I heard her laugh, quiet and low. "Yeah," she said. "I know. He'll do it." A pause. Then, "Just be patient." I stood there with my hand on the doorframe, still as a beam. She didn't sound guilty. She sounded organized. Another day, I came home early and she was in the laundry room, phone pressed to her ear, back turned. When she heard the front door, she ended the call too fast, like closing a tab. "Hey," she said, too bright. "You're home." "Meeting got canceled," I replied. Her eyes flicked to my hands, like she was checking if I was carrying suspicion. Then there were the routines. A shower at odd times. Errands that didn't produce bags. A new attention to her appearance before stopping by the site. And always that phone face down like a practiced reflex. I started writing things down. Not because I needed a diary. Because architects don't trust memory when stakes are high. We document. Dates. Times. Phrases I caught through walls. By the end of the second week, I didn't have a single smoking gun. But I had something better. Consistency. She wasn't drifting. She was coordinating. And the more I listened, the clearer it got. In her head, I wasn't her husband anymore. I was the obstacle between her and whatever she'd already decided was next. It happened on a Wednesday, the kind of midweek nothing where life is supposed to be boring. Lauren was in a rush, late for a quick stop at the site. She moved through the house fast. Keys, boots, coat, talking at me over her shoulder like I was furniture. "Can you send Tyler the updated budget spreadsheet later?" she asked. "Sure," I said without looking up. She kissed the air near my cheek and left. A minute later the house went quiet, and I heard the soft click that told me she'd forgotten something. Usually it was her sunglasses, sometimes her travel mug. This time it was her laptop. It sat open on the dining table, screen still lit, like it was waiting for me. The cursor blinked in a message window. A preview notification slid into the corner. "Tyler Donovan. Friday is perfect. He won't suspect." My body went cold at first, then hot, like my system was trying to choose between shutting down and tearing something apart. I stood there longer than I should have, fighting the version of myself that still wanted to be decent. The version that believed privacy meant trust. Then I remembered her voice. "Don't touch me." And I touched the trackpad. The thread opened. No flirting. No messy guilt. No "I miss you" garbage. Just planning. They talked about upgrades the way predators talk about closing distance. Push this. Add that. Frame it as smart investment. Get me comfortable with bigger numbers. Tyler wrote like a man who'd done this before. Confident, casual, sure of the outcome. Lauren responded like she was managing a project, not a marriage. One message hit harder than the rest because it stripped away every excuse I tried to give her in my head. Not just that she was sleeping with him. She didn't even treat me like a person anymore. She treated me like funding. They discussed loans, how to structure the payments, how to make it look like our decision while the risk sat heavy on my shoulders. Then the line that finished it, Lauren, once it's ours on paper, I file. He'll be stuck with the payment either way. I read it twice, 3 times, like repetition would change the words. Didn't. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I expected shaking. I expected a rush of panic. Instead, I felt something settle into place, like a final beam dropping into a frame. I took screenshots, every part of it, dates, names, the parts where they talked like I was a problem to solve. I emailed them to myself. Then I backed them up again. Quiet, methodical, no hesitation. When I closed the laptop, the room felt different, like the air had been replaced. I didn't break anything. I didn't scream into the empty house. I didn't call her. I grabbed my coat and walked, for hours, through cold streets, past restaurants and couples and people living normal lives. I let the rage burn down into something cleaner. By the time I came home, I wasn't guessing anymore. I wasn't hoping anymore. I wasn't debating the truth. I'd seen the plan. And once you see the plan, you stop being someone things happen to. I called in sick the next morning. First time in years. Not because I was falling apart. Because I needed daylight, not meetings. I needed clean time with no interruptions because improvising under pressure is how you lose. I sat at the kitchen table, our table, with my phone and a legal pad, and I made 3 calls like I was laying out a sequence on a build schedule. First, Marcus Reed. My financial advisor picked up on the second ring. He'd known me long enough to hear when my voice wasn't normal. "Ethan," he said, "you okay?" "I need an appointment today," I replied. "Private. No delays." A pause. "I can do 11. "Good." Second call. Catherine Winters. Top divorce attorney in the city. The kind of woman who doesn't sell comfort. She sells outcomes. I'd heard her name through colleagues, the way men pass around the names of surgeons and pit bulls. Her assistant tried to push me out for a week. "I'm not calling to chat," I said. "Tell her I'm calling before things move." 5 minutes later, Catherine came on the line herself. "Do you have evidence?" she asked. "Yes." "Then come in at 2. Bring everything. And don't confront your wife." "I wasn't planning to." "Good," she said. Like that was the only answer she respected. Third call. A lease office. Temporary apartment. 1 bedroom. Month to month. Something clean and separate because men get messy when they try to figure it out in the same house. By 3 o'clock I had keys. No dramatic goodbye. No suitcase dragged down the stairs. Just an exit ready when I decided it was time. The rest of the week I acted normal. That was the hardest part, not because I missed her, because I could see her now, and it killed the old version of me. I kissed her goodbye in the morning. I asked about her day. I nodded at her talk about tile samples and lighting fixtures. At night, we sat on the couch like we were still a couple, and she leaned into the comfort of my predictability. Tyler's name came up constantly. "Tyler thinks Friday is the best day to sign. Tyler says we should bring champagne." I smiled when appropriate. I kept my tone level. I stayed in the role she needed me to play. But inside, I wasn't building a house anymore. I was building protection. Money separated. Legal strategy drafted. Exit staged. A different structure entirely, one designed to hold my weight alone. Friday came with that fake brightness people put on when they think they've won. Lauren was up early, moving through the bedroom like she had a schedule inside her bones. Hair done. Makeup sharp. Outfit too polished for paperwork. "Big day," she said, smiling at the mirror. "Tyler's already there. He said he wants everything perfect." Of course he did. She leaned in to kiss me, and I gave her the same version of me I'd been giving all week. Calm, steady, unbothered. "Go ahead," I told her. "I'll meet you there." Relief crossed her face so fast she probably thought I didn't see it. She grabbed her purse, her phone, and left like she was stepping into her new life. The moment her car turned the corner, I moved. No anger, no shaking hands, just execution. I loaded 2 bags into my trunk. Already packed, already staged. A few essentials. Clothes, documents, The things that mattered and the things that couldn't be replaced. Then I drove to the apartment, dropped everything inside, and locked the door. After that, I went somewhere neutral, a coffee shop near Center City where nobody knew me. I sat by the window with a black coffee and watched strangers live their normal mornings. I didn't check my phone for a while. I let the clock do what it does best. 10:07, the first call came. Lauren. I didn't answer. 10:12, another. At 10:16, a text. Where are you? They're ready. At 10:21, the tone shifted. Ethan, answer me. I took a slow sip of coffee. Let the heat settle my chest. At 10:33, Tyler called. That one made me smile, small, humorless. By 10:40, Lauren's texts were no longer pretending. This isn't funny. They're waiting. Pick up. Now. I waited until 10:58. Not because I enjoyed it, because timing matters. Because every minute I wasn't there, their confidence turned into panic in real time. Then I answered. Ethan? Lauren snapped, breathless. Where the hell are you? I'm not coming, I said. Silence. Not empty, loaded. What? She said. I pulled my contribution. I continued, voice even. There's no deposit. No signing. No champagne. Her inhale sounded like a cut. What are you talking about? She tried, but the script was already falling apart. I'm talking about how it was never our dream home, I said. It was my money being converted into your future. She started talking fast, stacking words like she could rebuild control by volume. This is insane. You're embarrassing me. Tyler's here. Good, I said. He can hear you. Another pause. I pictured Tyler standing there, hands in his pockets, trying to look calm while the ground shifted under him. Lauren's voice dropped, sharper now. You can't do this. We've worked for this. No, I corrected. I worked. You coordinated. Her breathing went uneven. The panic was finally honest. Ethan, please just come. We can talk about this after. I looked out the window at people crossing the street with shopping bags and headphones, like nothing in the world was collapsing. We're not talking, I said. I'm done. Then I hung up. And in that quiet after, I felt it clean and final. The trap didn't close, because I didn't step into it. Tyler didn't call again after Friday. Not once. That told me everything I needed to know about what he was. Contractors like him don't build houses, they build exits. The second the deal died, he evaporated. Lauren didn't evaporate. She multiplied. By Monday, my phone started buzzing with names I hadn't heard in months. Mutual friends, her cousin, one of her coworkers I'd met twice at a holiday party. Hey man, just checking in. Lauren's worried about you. Are you okay? This seems out of character. That's how she framed it. Not as betrayal. Not as consequences. As for me being unstable. I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself in group chats. I didn't write paragraphs trying to win people back. If you argue with a smear, you feed it. You give it oxygen. Instead, I met Catherine Winters in her office again, and we kept things clean. She read the screenshots like she was reading an inspection report. No yelling, no threats, no dramatic texts, she said. You keep your communication minimal and documented. Let her talk. We'll file. So we filed. Catherine went proactive, motions, disclosures, requests that forced timelines. She didn't posture. She cornered me. She treated Lauren's story the way an engineer treats a weak joint. Apply pressure until the truth shows. Lauren's response was predictable. She tried to control the narrative with emotion. She told people I was controlling, that I was obsessed with money, that I'd become cold and suspicious and she felt unsafe. It was a performance, but it was an effective one, because the audience wanted a simple story, and husband snapped is simpler than wife planned to exploit him. There were days the humiliation landed anyway. Not because I doubted myself, because I saw how fast people choose comfort over accuracy. I'd walk into a room and feel the shift. Conversations stopping. Eyes doing math. At work, I kept it professional. I didn't rant. I didn't let it touch my drawings. I showed up, delivered. Went home to my temporary apartment with its blank walls and quiet air. The court took its time the way it always does. Depositions, financial statements, questions that felt invasive not because I'd done something wrong, but because everything becomes material when lawyers are involved, work hours, spending texts, calendar entries. Lauren's attorney tried to spin it into a marital misunderstanding. Stress, pressure, a wife overwhelmed, a husband who overreacted. Catherine didn't argue feelings. She argued intent. She introduced the messages, the upgrade strategy, the loan structuring. The line about filing once was hours on paper. You could feel the room change when those words hit. Even people trained to stay neutral have tells. A pause, a glance downward, a pen that stops moving. Lauren tried to explain it away. It wasn't like that, she said at one point, voice trembling on cue. It was just talking, venting. Catherine didn't raise her voice. Venting with a contractor, she said, calm. About manipulating your husband into debt. Lauren blinked, and for the first time she looked small. Not remorseful, just caught. That was the slow knife of divorce. Not one dramatic victory, but a steady stripping away of the story she'd built. Piece by piece, the court didn't care how she felt. Cared about what she did, what she wrote, and what she planned. And somewhere in the middle of it, some random afternoon when I was staring at a stack of documents like they were blueprints for a life I no longer wanted, I realized the truth. I wasn't fighting for a house. I was fighting for the right to never be used like this again. So I stayed quiet. I stayed steady. I let Catherine do what she did best. And I watched Lauren learn the difference between controlling a man and controlling a process. The divorce didn't end with a bang. It ended with signatures, months of filings, disclosures, posturing, and carefully worded threats. All of it collapsed into a few pages that said, in legal language, what my gut had known the day I saw Tyler's messages. This marriage was over long before I admitted it. Catherine got me what mattered. My retirement stayed mine. The money meant for the dream build stayed protected. No shared debt traps. No creative refinancing. No slow bleed disguised as compromise. Lauren kept the starter house. Fit in a way. She wanted something that looked like stability from the outside, even if the structure underneath was rotten. Let her have it. When it was done, I didn't celebrate. I didn't post. I didn't get back out there like a man trying to prove he was fine. I just went back to work and let routine rebuild my nervous system. A few weeks later, I got promoted project lead on a new commercial development. More responsibility, more visibility, the kind of role you earn by staying sharp while your personal life tries to cut your legs out from under you. That's where Hannah Carter came back into my world. Structural engineer. Smart. Direct. The type who doesn't talk in circles because she doesn't need to. We'd crossed paths years ago on a job downtown. She'd corrected one of my load assumptions without apologizing for it, and I'd respected her immediately. We ended up on the same site again, walking a slab in hard hats, reviewing a steel schedule. She looked at me, really looked, then said, "You seem quieter than you used to be." "Had a loud year," I replied. She didn't ask for details, just nodded like she understood the concept without needing the story. Later, she asked if I wanted to grab coffee after the site meeting. Not flirty, not needy, straightforward. Coffee turned into conversations. Conversations turned into dinners. Not fast, not desperate. No promises spoken like prayers. Just two adults moving with intention. Hannah didn't try to fill the empty space Lauren left. She didn't demand access to my pain. She didn't perform empathy like it was currency. She was steady. And after what I'd been through, steadiness felt like luxury. Around that time, I started designing again. Something personal. Not a dream house. Not a monument to a marriage. A smaller place. Sustainable. Clean. Efficient. A home built for one man's peace. Not two people's appearance. I obsessed over foundations more than finishes. Over drainage, load paths, insulation, things you don't see, but feel when they're wrong. I learned to respect the invisible work again. The day the framing went up, I stood on the lot alone for a while. No champagne. No photos. Just quiet with skeletons against the sky, honest in the way unfinished things are. I walked the outline of the living room, the kitchen, the porch, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Ownership, not of property, of myself. Hannah came by later that afternoon, boots crunching gravel, hands in her jacket pockets. She didn't gush. She didn't pretend it was magical. She just stood beside me and said, "Good bones." I nodded. That's the point. We looked at the frame for a moment, both of us seeing what it could be. Not because we needed it to prove anything, but because it was real work done clean. In the end, that was the lesson Lauren accidentally taught me. The facade is easy. The foundation is everything. And I'm done building anything with someone who doesn't respect the structure.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.